1 minute ago, the James Webb Space Telescope transmitted an image that changes everything. During a scheduled 4-hour exposure of 3I Atlas, movement was detected. Not orbital motion, not rotation, movement relative to Atlas itself. Multiple objects, small, fast, emerging from the opened 380-meter panel and dispersing in coordinated trajectories. The exposure captured 47 distinct tracks, 47 objects deployed from Atlas's interior while Webb was watching, and they're not staying near Atlas. They're spreading, accelerating, moving toward Earth on independent trajectories. That's not debris, that's fleet deployment. When you see movement in deep space imagery, you identify the source. Natural movement follows orbital mechanics. Predictable, calculable. These tracks don't follow ballistic trajectories. They curve, they accelerate, they adjust course multiple times per hour based on subsequent tracking. These are not passive objects. These are powered spacecraft executing coordinated deployment sequence. And Webb caught it happening. Before I show you the image that 17 institutions are analyzing right now, before I explain why 47 simultaneous deployments from one portal indicate pre-positioned fleet, before I reveal what the trajectory analysis tells us about target destinations and arrival times, I need you to understand what something moving with Atlas means in astronomical observation. Stars don't move noticeably during exposures. Planets move slowly. Asteroids move predictably. Spacecraft with thrust move in ways that violate Keplerian mechanics. These 47 objects violated mechanics repeatedly, simultaneously, in patterns suggesting coordination. In the comments below, tell me this. When Space Telescope captures 47 objects emerging from interstellar vehicle and accelerating on curved trajectories toward Earth, what's the simpler explanation? Equipment malfunction, creating 47 identical false signals, or exactly what the image shows, mass deployment of autonomous units from carrier vessel, because one requires impossible camera failure, and the other requires accepting that Atlas just released an invasion force. Let me start with how the observation happened. James Webb was conducting follow-up imaging of 3I Atlas as part of the extended monitoring program. The observation began at the 7th of February 2026, 3:14 UTC. Target was the open 380-meter panel to capture high-resolution imagery of the exposed interior. Webb's NIRCam instrument was configured for 1 4-hour continuous exposure in multiple filters. This is not standard practice. Typically, exposures are shorter to avoid saturation and cosmic ray contamination. But for faint targets like Atlas's dark interior, long integration time is necessary to gather sufficient photons for detailed imaging. At approximately 3:15 UTC, 1 minute into the exposure, the first track appeared. A streak across the image starting from the panel location and extending outward. Over the next 13 hours and 59 minutes, 46 additional tracks appeared, all originating from the same location. The open panel, all moving outward in different directions, all showing evidence of acceleration and course changes. The final processed image shows 47 distinct linear tracks overlaid on the background star field and Atlas's structure. Each track represents one object that moved during the exposure. The length of each track indicates how far the object traveled. The curvature indicates acceleration, and the fact that objects are still being tracked hours after initial deployment confirms they're real, physical, moving targets. Now let me address why these can't be imaging artifacts. Cosmic rays create tracks in detector images, but cosmic ray tracks are random in position and direction. These 47 tracks all originate from one specific location, the panel. Cosmic rays don't do that. Satellite trails create tracks when Earth-orbiting satellites pass through field of view. But satellites move in predictable orbits around Earth. These tracks originate from Atlas at 400,000 kilometers and move in multiple directions, including toward Earth. Satellites don't emerge from distant objects. Hot pixels, or detector defects, create point sources, not tracks. And defects don't appear suddenly in images that had no defects in previous observations of Atlas. The detector was functioning normally before and after this observation. Moving asteroids create tracks, but asteroids in the field of view would create tracks passing through the field, not emanating from a single point. And we're tracking these objects independently now. They're real objects in space, not image artifacts. Every alternative explanation fails. The tracks are real, the objects are real, and they came from inside Atlas. Let me walk you through the deployment pattern because it reveals intentionality. The 47 objects did not emerge randomly over the 14-hour observation. They emerged in pulses, groups separated by time intervals. First pulse at 3:15 UTC, 8 objects. Second pulse at 5:47 UTC, 12 objects. Third pulse at 9:22 UTC, 15 objects. Fourth pulse at 13:08 UTC, 12 objects. 4 deployment events over 14 hours, each event releasing multiple objects in quick succession, each group separating by roughly 2.5 to 4 hours from previous group. This is staged deployment, not continuous release, not random timing, discrete events on schedule. The timing intervals suggest either recharge time between deployment cycles or deliberate spacing for traffic management or preparation time for each batch. The trajectories are not random either. The 47 objects are moving in coordinated pattern. They're not all going to the same place. They're dispersing to different locations. But the dispersion is organized. Analysis shows the objects are separating into 7 groups based on trajectory similarity. 7 groups, 47 objects, average of 6.7 objects per group. Each group is heading toward different destination. Group analysis, based on current trajectories and observed accelerations, suggests targets are distributed around Earth orbit, not all aimed at Earth directly. Distributed in three-dimensional pattern surrounding Earth at various altitudes and inclinations. Now, let me address object size and mass. Webb's resolution at 400,000 kilometers distance is approximately 200 meters per pixel in the NIRCam images. The deployed objects appear as point sources, meaning they're smaller than 200 meters. Brightness analysis suggests diameter between 10 and 50 meters for most objects. Mass estimation is difficult without knowing composition and density. But objects 10 to 50 meters in diameter, with assumed density similar to spacecraft, 100 to 300 kilograms per cubic meter, would mass between 50 and 20,000 tons each. That's substantial. These are not small probes. These are significant spacecraft. If we estimate conservatively at 5,000 tons average mass and 47 objects, total deployed mass is 235,000 tons. That's 0.5% of Atlas's 4.7 million ton total mass. Atlas carried 235,000 tons of deployable units in its interior and just released them. This is carrier vessel operations. Mothership, deploying fleet. Let me walk you through the acceleration analysis because it proves powered flight. Ballistic trajectories are parabolic. Object in orbit or on escape trajectory follows path determined by gravity and initial velocity. No thrust required. Path is predictable. These objects show non-ballistic trajectories. The tracks curve more sharply than gravity alone would cause. They accelerate. Follow-up tracking by ground-based observatories over the 12 hours since deployment shows multiple course corrections, objects changing velocity and direction. Specifically, objects in Group 1 showed 3 distinct acceleration events in the 12 hours since deployment. Each acceleration approximately 0.3 meters per second delta V. Total delta V accumulated 0.9 meters per second. That's more than gravity could provide. That's propulsive maneuvering. All 7 groups show similar behavior. Continuous small corrections, maintaining group cohesion while adjusting trajectories toward intended targets. This is autonomous navigation. Each object has propulsion. Each object has guidance. Each object is executing flight plan towards specific destination. Now let me address what the open panel reveals about Atlas's interior. We knew the panel opened. We photographed the exposed interior, showing metallic surfaces and compartmentalized structure. But we didn't know what the compartments contained. Now we know at least one compartment contained 47 deployable spacecraft. The 380-meter panel opens into chamber large enough to store 47 objects ranging from 10 to 50 meters in size. If we assume objects were packed efficiently, the chamber volume must be at least 100,000 cubic meters. That's a large internal bay, significant portion of Atlas's interior dedicated to this deployment capability. But here's the critical question. Is this the only deployment bay? Atlas is 11.7 kilometers across, with 95% hollow interior. Total internal volume is approximately 840 cubic kilometers. The deployment bay we just observed is 0.00001% of that volume. If Atlas has multiple bays, it could be carrying thousands of deployable units. We've seen one panel open. The octahedral geometry has 8 faces. Each face could have deployable panels. If each face has one 380-meter panel accessing similar size bay with similar payload, Atlas could deploy 376 objects total. That's a fleet, and we've only seen 47 so far. Let me walk you through trajectory destinations because knowing where they're going reveals intent. Group 1, 7 objects heading toward low Earth orbit, approximately 800-kilometer altitude. Group 2, 9 objects targeting higher orbit, around 5,000 kilometers. Group 3, 6 objects heading toward geostationary altitude, 35,786 kilometers. Group 4, 8 objects targeting lunar orbit. Group 5, 5 objects heading toward Earth-Sun L1 Lagrange point. Group 6, 7 objects aimed at various orbits between Moon and Earth. Group 7, 5 objects on trajectories that will pass close to Earth but not enter orbit. This is comprehensive space infrastructure deployment. Objects positioned at strategic locations throughout cislunar space. Low orbit for Earth observation. Geostationary for communication relay. Lunar orbit for Moon monitoring. L1 for gravitational stability and continuous Earth-Sun line of sight. This is not random. This is architecture for complete space dominance. The arrival times vary by destination. Group 1 targeting low Earth orbit will arrive first. Current trajectory indicates arrival in approximately 11 days. Group 3 targeting geostationary arrives in 15 days. Group 4 lunar orbit arrives in 23 days. Over the next month, 47 spacecraft from interstellar vehicle will be distributed throughout Earth orbital space. Now, let me address what these objects might be. Based on size, mass, and observed behavior, several categories are possible. Reconnaissance satellites for Earth observation. Communication relays for interfleet coordination. Navigation beacons for positioning and guidance. Weapon platforms if hostile intent exists. Mining or resource extraction units if they're targeting specific locations. We cannot determine function from external observation alone. What we can determine is capability. Objects with propulsion and guidance are capable spacecraft. Objects arriving at strategic orbital locations suggest purposeful deployment. Objects coordinating in groups suggest fleet operations, whether their purpose is peaceful or hostile. These are functional space systems being positioned around Earth. Let me walk you through what the deployment timing tells us. Atlas has been in Earth orbit for 3 months. It opened the panel 2 weeks ago. It stopped rotation and pointed at Earth 1 week ago. It deployed 47 objects today. This is progression, each action enabling the next. Panel opens to access interior. Rotation stops to stabilize deployment platform. Objects deploy when all preparations complete. This suggests additional deployments are likely. If Atlas followed careful preparation sequence for this deployment, it will likely follow similar sequence for future deployments if other bays exist. Watch for additional panel openings. Watch for more objects emerging. The 47 we've seen might be first wave. Now, let me address what ground-based tracking is revealing about the objects. 17 observatories worldwide are now tracking all 47 objects. Optical tracking provides positions. Radar tracking provides size estimates and spin states. All objects are tumbling slowly, with periods between 2 and 6 hours. This is consistent with objects recently released that haven't yet stabilized attitude. But some objects in groups 1 and 2 have begun attitude stabilization. Tumble rates decreasing. Within hours, they might achieve 3-axis stabilization like Atlas recently did. This would indicate systems activation, sensors coming online, power systems engaging, mission equipment becoming operational. Brightness variations show objects have irregular shapes, not spherical, not simple cylinders. Complex geometry suggesting specific structural design. Some objects show periodic brightness spikes suggesting reflective surfaces or active emission sources. We might be seeing sunlight reflecting from solar panels deploying, or we might be seeing powered systems activating. Now let me discuss the institutional response. NASA issued statement within 2 hours of image transmission. James Webb Space Telescope has detected multiple objects in vicinity of interstellar object 3I Atlas. Objects under observation. Nature and origin being assessed. That's carefully worded to avoid stating the obvious. Objects came from Atlas. European Space Agency, more direct. Multiple spacecraft-sized objects observed deploying from 3I Atlas. ESA coordinating with international partners for tracking and analysis. Using word deploying acknowledges active release. Using spacecraft-sized acknowledges these aren't debris or fragments. U.S. Space Command elevated tracking priority to highest level. All available sensors directed at the 47 objects and Atlas. Military satellite tracking networks fully engaged. This is threat response. Unknown objects deploying from unknown source require maximum awareness. I've communicated with colleagues at observatories conducting follow-up. They're seeing additional details. Some objects show radar signatures consistent with solar arrays. Some show thermal emissions suggesting internal power sources. Some show evidence of attitude control thrusters firing. These are not inert payloads. These are active spacecraft. Now let me make predictions. First, within 48 hours, more objects deploy. If Atlas has additional bays, or can reload the bay we observed, we'll see second wave. Watch the open panel. Watch for additional panels opening. Second, within 1 week, the earliest arrivals at low Earth orbit begin operations. Whether reconnaissance, communication, or other function, we observe what they do when they reach destination. Third, within 2 weeks, geostationary arrivals position themselves near existing satellites. If intent is monitoring or interfering with Earth communications infrastructure, geostationary belt is the target. We'll see how close they approach our satellites. Fourth, ground-based observation will detect transmissions between deployed objects and Atlas. Fleet coordination requires communication. We intercept some of those signals if we monitor right frequencies. Fifth, public acknowledgement becomes unavoidable. 47 spacecraft from interstellar vehicle positioning around Earth cannot be kept quiet. Too many observers, too many institutions involved. Within days, public pressure forces official statements beyond minimal acknowledgments. Let me address what 47 deployments means for threat assessment. Best case, these are scientific instruments. Atlas deploying sensor network to study Earth system, space environment, magnetosphere, atmosphere, oceans, geology from space, comprehensive scientific mission. Benign, non-threatening. Moderate case. These are infrastructure for long-term presence. Communication relays, navigation beacons, power stations, resupply depots, Atlas establishing permanent presence in Earth space. Not immediately threatening, but concerning for sovereignty. Concerning case. These are reconnaissance assets preparing for something larger. Forward observers, surveillance platforms, targeting designators, gathering information before main force arrives or before Atlas itself moves to closer range. Worst case, these are weapon platforms, kinetic impactors, directed energy emitters, electronic warfare systems, positioning for engagement. 47 targets distributed across Earth orbital space are extremely difficult to counter simultaneously. If they're weapons and they activate, response options are limited. Each scenario has different probability based on behavior we observe, but all scenarios are possible given capabilities demonstrated. We must prepare for all while hoping for best. Now let me discuss what this changes about Atlas itself. We thought we understood Atlas, interstellar vehicle, large, sophisticated, carrying 6 secondaries in external formation. Now we know it's carrying dozens more internally. It's not just spacecraft, it's carrier, mothership, deployment platform for distributed fleet operations. This changes threat calculus completely. We were tracking 1 large object and 6 external secondaries. Manageable. Now we're tracking 1 large object, 6 external secondaries, and 47 newly deployed units, and potentially hundreds more if other deployment bays exist. This is force multiplication. This is invasion capability. The hollow interior we calculated at 95% void space makes sense now. It's not empty, it's cargo space. Deployment bays, storage for fleet elements waiting to be released. Atlas didn't cross 47 light-years alone. It carried a fleet, and it's deploying that fleet around Earth. 1 minute ago, James Webb transmitted proof of fleet deployment. 47 objects emerged from 3I Atlas during 14-hour observation. Not debris, not fragments, powered spacecraft with guidance and propulsion, distributed into 7 groups, targeting strategic locations throughout cislunar space. Low Earth orbit, geostationary, lunar orbit, Lagrange points. Arrivals begin in 11 days. Demand immediate public disclosure of deployment event. Demand full tracking data on all 47 objects. Demand international coordination of response. Demand transparency about what Space Command assesses regarding threat level. This is not longer theoretical. 47 spacecraft from Interstellar Carrier are positioning around Earth right now. We have days to weeks before they reach destinations and activate for whatever purpose they were deployed. Webb caught the moment. The image exists, 47 tracks emanating from one source. Atlas is not single vehicle. It's fleet carrier, and the fleet is deploying. Stay rational, stay vigilant, and remember that when something releases 47 spacecraft in 14 hours, it's not accident, it's operation, military operation, happening now, in our space, around our planet. The invasion began 1 minute ago when Webb's image transmitted. We're just learning about it now.